There are several questions here. I haven't seen them. Why do you question somebody else? Why do we have problems which we cannot solve for ourselves? Why do we seek help from outside? Not that we should not put questions. We should put questions. We should demand. We should doubt all the rest of it. But from whom do you expect an answer? You understand me? There are these several questions here. I don't know what they are. But can we not solve these questions, these problems for ourselves? What is a problem? A problem, according to the dictionary meaning, is something thrown at you. Right? The meaning of that word etymologically means something thrown at you, a problem. And we never look at a problem anew, right? Because our brains are conditioned to the resolution of problems. May I go into a little bit? From childhood, a child has a problem. How to read, how to write, goes to school, and there he's educated to resolve problems, right? You know all this, don't you? Don't look surprised. It's a nice, rather rainy morning. You understand my question? From childhood, they are trained to have problems. Go to school, and there are dozens of problems. You must learn how to read and write, how to do mathematics, and later on geography, history, and the examinations. It all becomes a problem. And so the brain is conditioned to solve problems because it's been trained from childhood to have problems and find an answer to those problems, right? Do we understand each other? A little bit at least. Yes, sir? Suppose I have a problem. First of all, I never ask, why do I have problems? Well, there's the problem of relationship, problem of occupation, and so on, so on, so on. Especially psychological problems. Because my brain, from childhood, has been educated, conditioned, cultured to have problems. Do look at this, please. And then all life becomes a problem. What to do, how to act, what to think. You follow? About death, about if there is life after death. Our whole brain is conditioned not only having problems in itself, but also problems put upon it. Right? So it is continuously having problems. So life as a whole, whether it's science, mathematics, or physics, and so on, it all becomes a problem. Because our brain is conditioned to problems. Right? Now, it is not important to solve problems, but to have no problems at all with regard to the psychological world and the brain. You understand? I wonder, am I making myself clear? Tell me, please. It's nice. If not, I'll go into it very carefully. Only a brain that has no problem can solve problems. That is, only a brain that is free from problems can go into problems and resolve them. But if the brain itself is conditioned to live with problems, then it can never solve any problem. Right? Politically, look at the world, what is happening. They're solving one problem. In the very solution of that problem, dozen other problems arise. Because the politician's mind is like ours, conditioned to problems. I wonder if you understand this, right? It's fairly clear. So the question is then, is it possible for the brain to uncondition itself and to have no problems at all? That is, if a problem arises, solve it. But not with a brain that is already conditioned to problems. Look, sir, I don't. Suppose I have no problems. As a matter of fact, I haven't any. Not that I'm old, but I don't want. I don't feel like having problems. It's as simple as that. So my brain, I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking about somebody else. I'm talking about K, somebody outside, sitting here. So it's not a personal worship, right? As long as I have problems, I can never solve any problem, right? Do we see that? Then my question is, can I be free of this condition, which is to have problems first and then resolve problems? You follow? You understand? So my question is, can my brain uncondition itself so that it's free? And being free, it can solve problems. Not in the solution of the problem, other problems arise. It is the end of a problem. You understand? Suppose I hate somebody. I hope not. Hate somebody. That becomes a problem. And my brain, which is being conditioned to problems, then what shall I do about hate? How am I to stop it? Can I control it? Can I suppress it? Can I run away from it? I must be kind. I must be generous. Which all becomes a problem. You follow? It goes round and round in circles with problems. But I ask myself, K is asking himself, whether the brain can be free from all problems, sexual, relationship, problems of God, problems of rituals, problems of nation, you follow? War, peace, so that it's completely free of that. Is that possible? Please put that question to yourself. Is it possible to be so completely be free of problems, in which there is no defense or offense? Kay says it is possible. Don't accept it because it's no meaning to you if you accept it. It's the assertion of some idiot and may be utterly wrong. So you have to investigate your own brain. Carefully, I'm using carefully. Investigate your own brain so that it is really free of problems. Then the question arises, who is to free the brain, right, from its condition? Then we say it must be an external agency, God or a guru or some angel or some ideology or an authority. You understand? The process of asking, is it possible to be free from its own conditioning? In that very asking that question, we invent the guru, the authority. You understand? So I won't ask that question. I wonder if you understand all this. Then I'll go on it. I won't ask that question. I say, now, who is it that is asking the question, right? Whether it's possible for me to be free of my conditioning. Who is that asking the question? And who is it that's going to answer? You understand my? I put aside all authority, all gurus, all books, all gods, all angels, all outside computers, because they have no meaning. Then I ask myself, who is it that's putting the question? And who is it that's going to receive the answer, right? We are working together in this, or we're just being silent? Now comes the complications. If you are willing to be prepared for complications, we'll go into it. Now most of us put a question and then wait for an answer, right? And if the answer is not convenient or comfortable or make one rather shy about it, you put it aside. So you ask a question and you're waiting for an answer. And the answer is according to your background, right? Right? And that's clear. Now, put the question and leave it alone. You understand? That is, I put the question whether my brain can be free of all problems so that it can resolve any problem that comes. Problem is a challenge. There's a challenge of death, challenge of grief, challenge of fear, and so on. Right? I have put the question. If the question is serious, as it is, any reply to it will be according to my conditioning. Right? Right, sir? You're rather uncertain. Because my brain has been educated to problems, right? And if I put that question, is it possible for the brain to be free of all problems? The immediate response is, no, it's not possible, or it is possible. Then how? And so it's asking the question how is creating another problem. I prefer that guru instead of that guru. I prefer that book to that book, and so on, whether it's right or not. I'm caught in that. So what I do is put the question, is it, and it's a very serious question, is it possible for the brain to be totally free of all problems? That's a tremendous question. And I won't seek an answer for it. That very question becomes tremendously important. You understand? I leave it at that very question has its own vitality. I wonder if you understand all this. Are you doing that with me? That is, I have put the question, I don't seek an answer. Careful, sir, this requires tremendous, great attention. Not just say, yeah, put the question, let's wait. I put the question in all seriousness, and therefore with all attention, and I leave the question alone. I am not interfering with it. I am not saying what's the answer. If the question is serious and has tremendous vitality, significance, then the question itself begins to answer. Not I answer, you answer. Is this clear? Are you doing it now? Of course, we are talking of psychological questions, not technological questions, whether I'll have a job, whether I'll pass my exams, all that kind of business. So the question is important, not the answer. Because the question has great urgency, great intensity, passion behind that question, then that very question will flower and answer, or wither away. But what we do is, can I uncondition my brain? Is that possible? Tell me how. Then that becomes a problem. I mean, you've understood? Can we go on? There are several questions here. I don't know what they are, serious or flippant or meaningless. And who is going to answer these questions? Have you put the questions in order for K to answer, or you have put the question and the question must be investigated, not the answer? Because in the question lies the answer, not outside the question. I want you to understand. I want to know, I won't go into the theory, I want to know if God exists, right? Not I. Somebody else wants to know if God exists. How will you ever find out? If you are really honest, if you are really serious, belief, faith has no place. Or tradition, I believe in God. I believe I should be very tall. It's as good as that. I want to find out if God exists, which means I must have a brain that is capable of putting aside all that has been said before, whether it's the Upanishad, Gita, or some other book, Quran, or the Bible. And the brain must be totally free to find out, like a scientist, right? If a scientist is investigating to the hypothesis, a thesis, then he cannot say, well, I remember these things and I'll find the answer. He must be free to investigate, right? So, is my brain free? Not if there is God or not, right? Agree, sir? Is your brain free or frightened or anxious, lonely? As long as those factors exist, you'll never find out. So God is not important at all, but whether there is freedom to find out. Yeah? Can we go along together in this?